Okay, hi everyone. I believe we are live. This is Deidre with Are You a CPS Victim Like Me? I apologize for starting out late, but I thought I'd go out on a whim and invest in a new computer to hopefully get away with the static from my voice from the previous shows. And then I had all the hiccups along the way of using a new computer. So I apologize for being late. But for anybody new to my channel here, I am a parent that once went through a CPS case myself about 5 years ago. And I continue to do this show to sort of fight for the other parents that might be going through a case right now or have also been through a case and want to maybe still have a chance at fighting for their children back home in their life if they have them removed and TPR'd. I have a guest here tonight that I will introduce in a second, and she is actually a second success story that was fortunate enough to get her child returned back home. So I'm really eager and excited to have her share her story because, like I said, after all these years, it was my guest from last week and her that I have only been able to come across that have actually been successful in fighting this corruption. But in the meantime, I do this show under the power of attorney out in LA County in California, Mr. Vincent W. Davis. And I found him, in the search of trying to prevent my children from being, permanently taken through CPS. And I've continued to, work with him as far as doing these shows because I believe that personally, he's the number one CPS attorney out there in the world. That's just from my personal knowledge of him and everything that he puts out as far as knowledge goes for parents and anybody fighting CPS. But if you feel like you could financially retain him at any point, that would be my best offer. I mean, my best advice. But another thing I want to throw out there that I always forget is if you want to one day be a guest on my show in the future and you are interested in trying to get any expertise knowledge from him, you do qualify for a 15-minute free consultation with Mr. Davis for being a guest. And then again, if you want to be a guest, you could just call the 888 number on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, and my producer Grace can get you scheduled for one of my upcoming shows that are on every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific. So other than that, I don't want to waste too much more time because we're already late, and I want Stephanie to share her story. So I'm going to turn it over to her, and if you want to introduce yourself, Stephanie, and then go ahead and speak about your story.
I'm Stephanie. Yes, we were some unfortunate victims of our son being basically medically kidnapped. He was a preemie. We had a very small amount of pregnancy time between the knowledge of our pregnancy and actually delivering him because we found out fairly late. So that was definitely a complex situation. He was born at around 29 weeks. They weren't really able to say whether it was 28 or 29 at delivery just because of how late we found out. He went straight to the NICU from birth. The birth there was some trauma during delivery, which I had never experienced, but um, yeah, so he went straight to the NICU and he had a really rough night, his first night. And then after that, he was like the perfect little NICU baby. He breastfed the entire 5 weeks. He did great. He was on the most amazing schedule. And then the day came, he was able to come home, but he couldn't come home because my entire house tested positive for influenza, like A something. We were like, oh, so massively sick. So I went there and confirmed it was best that he stayed for 4 more days. And then he came home. And NICU babies are the easiest because they're on this schedule that you just can't do on your own. I mean, really. He was my first like real NICU baby. And yeah, he was like easy, easy, easy. So he was home for 2 weeks and a few days, and my oldest son, my husband, myself, and the baby, we were watching a movie, and we noticed that our son's hand was doing a twitch. It seemed weird. We didn't really rush to panic about it at that moment. It wasn't major. But then as the movie was coming to a conclusion, we see that the hand is still like doing those little twitches here and there. So we did start Googling. It looked pretty normal for NICU babies to have twitches. Well, fed him his last time, put him to bed, and you know, that was it. Woke up in the morning. Well, I mean, woke up at like 3 in the morning, but woke up in the morning for a new feed and everything, and his hand was twitching more or less like pulsating. It was not twitching, it was knocking like this. And I immediately knew something is very off with this. So we went to go and give him his bottle, and he absolutely refused it. So at that point, we start calling pediatrician number one, and they say, well, it's probably not severe. However, he is a NICU baby, so you need to take him to the emergency room to be safe. We get to the emergency room. Oh, we were there forever. We went into triage, and I'm like, you see how his hand is just knocking? And they're like, yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. It's just not a big deal. And I mean, I would say between us arriving, doing triage, and actually getting back there, it was roughly an hour or more. So then we get back there, and his entire arm started to really, it was like slamming the bed, and nobody is coming in. So I had to go running out. And I'm like, hello, I really need someone to come see this. I'm getting really nervous. And I do get like really bad anxiety when it comes to like, especially my kids, babies. So I'm like now really intensely panicking. Please come look. So a doctor comes in, and he says, do you not realize your son is having seizures? And I said, well, I think I am realizing it. That's why I'm here. And I need assistance. And then they took him to x-rays. There was nothing. I don't even know why we went to x-rays, to be honest. I don't remember, because that at that moment everything was like pretty chaotic. Went to x-rays. He went in there with my husband. There was nothing that they saw. They brought him back into the room, started doing lights in his eyes, etc., and said, like, these are really bad seizures. And they're kind of discussing these seizures with me like, you should have known better. Like,
yeah, he's like 2 weeks old. Hello.
I'm here. Like, let's do something. So I mean, there was like a lot of little details in that little hospital visit, but nothing that I think is so important other than, so now we get to this point where they say, we can't deal with these type of seizures here. So they put him on an immediate IV of a medication to slow the seizures down. And they said that he needs to be code 3 transported to a different city. They gave me 2 options, and I just told them I just take him to the better one, whatever's the better hospital. I don't care where I'm driving. So they sent him to Miami. And my husband rode with him to Miami. I rode with my older son behind them in the car. And once we got there, it was, he's not going to make it. It's like absolutely, there's just no chance. And the very first time that I got to see him in there, I'd say it had been about 30 minutes from when I arrived. And my son was enormous.
Like bloated?
Bloated. This poor baby's head was massive, and he had everything on, and they said, Mom, we're going to need to put him into a medically induced coma right now, because we're getting so much, that the seizure is slowing down. So we're getting so much damage to the brain. We need to go ahead and put him under. And I was, yes, let's do it. So, I mean, nothing felt weird. It may maybe it was supposed to feel weird. I don't know. I didn't really care. Oh, wait, I missed something big. As we were leaving the original hospital in the ambulance, I had about 15 different people with notepads chasing me out, asking me, "Did your son fall? Did someone shake him?" I'm like, "No, no, no. You can't fall. You didn't get shaken." They're like, "In the past 24 hours, what has happened to him?" Nothing happened to my son in the past 24 hours. Nothing happened to my son from birth.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're specific with, think about 24 hours, 24 hours. No, like nothing. He's such
But
on a,
didn't everybody kind of also know that he was born so prematurely? Even though he was released from
he
NICU,
was
I mean,
born in that hospital. So it should have been very clear. They should be able to pull up his records very
yeah,
easily. So, so now we're in the new hospital in Miami. Sorry, I'm kind of like blocked here. We're in the new hospital in Miami, and we had a couple of nurses that were just so kind. They were very, very, very kind. And one nurse specifically, I remember her so well. And she said, "No matter what these people say, I can tell you're a really good mom." And I'm thinking, who would say something bad? I didn't expect what was coming. So I'm
yeah,
thinking, what? I'm bringing my kid to the hot. Why would anyone say anything bad about me? But okay, that it really was not relevant. I did not
yeah.
care. So, um, later that night, my husband and my eldest son, they left the hospital and went to a hotel that was in the hospital parking lot. I stayed with the baby. So then I wake up in the morning and I'm literally behind a life support machine where I have this massive baby. And I was really, really, really shocked. I couldn't believe I was there. It's almost like I had forgotten that I got there and everything. It was just like, whoa, this is really happening. I'm really in this situation. My baby. I wanted to hold his hand, but they told me that I couldn't touch him. Like, and it wasn't because of me. It's no one could touch him
Yeah.
because of the risk of infection. And so I couldn't touch my baby or anything. And then he was very critical. He was not stable and he was very, very critical. And I went over to the hotel. I just kind of looked at everyone and I was like, wow, this is really happening. Like, he might not make it. And then I went back to the hospital where I just sat. And later on, my husband and my elder son came over to the hospital, where the hospital started, like, even the nice nurses, everybody started to, like, they weren't like being the way a hospital staff is when parents have a sick baby.
Yeah.
They were like kind of being rude, just it was very unwelcoming. And I at this point I still don't understand that we could
They're
be
looking at you like you guys caused all this.
right, but this is something I wouldn't have even thought at that moment. So I'm
Exactly.
just like, gosh, the bedside manner in this hospital is bad. And I'm like, you know what, whatever. Fight for my son. You guys just keep him going, and they can just be as rude as you can imagine. But then we started hearing like the comments on, hey, you need to speak to so and so and so and so. And I'm like, who are these people? What are they? And they're like, we're going to give you this one's phone number, give them a call or whatever. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But now is not the time. I'll talk to people about things. Are they here to save him? What is the deal? I'm only focusing on my son, who they're telling me is not going to make it. And they're like, that was so off to me because I have other kids. They've been to hospitals and doctors before. I've never seen anyone just be so dismissive. And I'm asking, hey, how's he doing? Oh, you're worried about that now? Like, what? Is that a thing? So anyway, the hospital recommends that we go home and get some essentials. They say, listen, we have your son in a stable situation. He's critical, but he's stable. And I'm going to assume that you guys are not going to want to leave his side. So you need to go home and get some essentials before he wakes up, before we start the process of waking him up. Okay, great. On my way out, they give me a business card and say, hey, please contact this lady. Sure. So we're in the car. It's a 2-hour drive from our hospital to our home. We're in the car. We call the lady and she's like, hi, I'm a CPI. CPI is what she was called. And she said, I need to speak with you face to face. I said, well, are you in Palm Beach County, which is where we lived? And she says, yes, I could be at your house within an hour. Okay, well, we'll be there. I said, we're just going to grab some toothbrushes. We're going to be in a big rush. So you're going to have to make this quick. Then halfway home, we get a call from her saying, due to the severity of our case, we need to speak to someone else that's more qualified. I'm like, wait, what case? What is this case? They're like, no, it's not like that. It's just anytime like a child has a seizure, we just document it and we'll like discuss it with your insurance and stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So we need to document whatever we can because I don't want to lose my kids' insurance. We get home. There is tape around our apartment, caution tape, actual caution tape all the way around it. There is an SVU detective waiting for us. The CPI, some guy that was with her, and Palm Beach sheriff, just a regular sheriff's office. And yeah, so we walk upstairs to go grab our toothbrushes and some diapers and things we're going to need for us and the baby. And we're separated for 8 hours into 2 different rooms, getting questioned on what happened to our son in the past 24 hours.
And real quick, Stephanie, can you hear me?
I can.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Stephanie, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my internet on my end, because I'm watching it up on the TV, and it doesn't affect you. So you keep going, but just know I'm here. If I keep going in and out, I'm here though, okay?
Okay.
All right, cool. Go ahead.
So we get upstairs, and like I said, it was like an actual movie that I was walking into. And here I am, like I'm a mom that's like in panic mode. I was honestly upset that I even left the hospital to go get stuff, but I needed to get like a breast pump and stuff for the baby that was like crucial. So that's the main reason why we left. So we get there, now we're separated for 7-8 hours in 2 different rooms. And we're taking drug tests where I took mine and I passed. My husband took his and he failed for every drug on the panel, which is literally impossible. Trust me, it's impossible. But they're like, don't worry, we'll send it off to the lab. And he says, no, you're not sending anything off to the lab. You're going to give me a whole new test right now. And they did. And he passed everything. And the thing is in hindsight, looking back, sending a test off to a lab is a bad look, period, for your case. So if you fail the test and you shouldn't be failing, you need to take a new one. So that was pretty smart. Well, during this time when we're trying to grab these toothbrushes, we then have to do reenactments with baby dolls of what happened to our son. So my husband took the baby and laid him in the bassinet and came and sat on the couch. I mean, there's nothing to reenact. And they did a shift change. So we got a new Palm Beach sheriff. She was very, very nice. The CPI, her supervisor shows up and he says, I need you to come downstairs. So the CPI goes downstairs and we're just sitting there talking to the SVU detective and the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office, waiting for the CPI to come back up. When she came back up, she let us know that there would need to be a safety plan in place and we would not be able to go visit our son. And the reason we could not go visit our son is because as we were away from the hospital, they discovered that he had a skull fracture. So, I mean, I don't really understand how that could have happened, but he had a skull fracture. So now, in order for us to go visit our son, we have to have a babysitter who's over the age of 18 that signs a bunch of paperwork, complies with the safety plan, and they'll stay there and watch us watch our son while our son's in the hospital. So I contact my ex-husband because we have 2 kids together. He knows me very well. He knows that we don't do nonsense with our kids. So it was an easy call. I called him and I said, we have an issue with the baby. He's in critical condition and they're saying that he has a skull fracture and we don't really know why, but they won't let us go and visit the baby unless someone comes and sits there with us the whole time. Can you please come? He drove to Miami immediately, signed paperwork, and sat with us as long as we needed to sit. And at that point, I bring to the doctor about my son's skull fracture and how did it happen? Like, we didn't even see it at the original hospital in the x-rays. And that's where this doctor started screaming at me, telling me that I was basically, he was like, you're an ignorant mother. Your son doesn't have a skull fracture. Why would you think that? I'm like, I don't know. I was just told he does. Like, I have my ex-husband here because he has a skull fracture. And then now I have this doctor saying you need to pay better attention to your kid and don't assume things. I'm like, wait, I'm not assuming he has a skull fracture. I'm being told he does, and I can't come here on my own because he has a skull fracture. So now I'm just confused. And at the end of the day, I just really didn't care. I really didn't care about any of that crap. I just wanted to just be there with my baby. So then, every night we were only there kind of a few days with my ex-husband, and then we got my mom involved where she signed the safety plan. And my mom asked entirely too many questions. And basically she got us all removed. So it got to the point where my mom is asking the doctors so much about our son and how things just don't make sense. Like, who's saying this skull fracture thing? And the doctor is saying, that's not my job. I'm here to save this kid. And you're asking me so many questions. It's really interfering with what I need to be doing for the baby. And I agreed with the doctor. And I kind of like went off on my mom, like, please leave everyone alone. And the detective called my mom at the hospital. Oh, wait,
real quick. I just wanted to say, I understand that you are seeing what the doctor was trying to say to your mom, but funny from like me looking out, not knowing you or your mom, I can see where your mom was being almost that mother to you, where it was like, wait a minute, I know my daughter's innocent and they're already looking at her like she's done this. So I need to really try and dig deeper, where you still weren't, I feel like, onto the fact that they were kind of going that route. So that's kind of.
I really was not onto it. Even though I had my ex-husband babysitting me, it still wasn't here.
But did you see how fast I wanted to then get your mom out the picture, which then included removing you guys?
Yes, yeah, they removed us.
It's totally crazy once you go through the system, how you look at them in such a different way, because again, their intentions are never to help you or do the best for the baby. It's completely the opposite then, if you think about it. Like in situations like this.
I'm the one. I called them. Yeah, come on over. Mm-hmm. Whatever we have to do. Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
Opposite of what I would advise anyone to do.
Yeah.
So my mom's asking these questions, and before you know it, so we leave the hospital for our final time, and we get a call from the CPI, which was, sorry guys, you can't come back at all. We're going to have a hearing. The hearing was the shelter hearing. The shelter hearing is It was so odd that the judge is reading a form that says we're being sheltered because the baby has a skull fracture. Wait a minute. The doctor just told me what a horrible, like, total, like, off parent I am because I'm saying he has a skull fracture because these people are saying it, but now the judge is saying it. And then the attorneys, because I had a public defender and my husband had a private attorney, are saying, no, Your Honor, there is no skull fracture. That's a mistake. And the judge says, I am going to shelter based on what the department says. And what the department says was skull fracture.
Even though the doctor just told you that he does not have
Does
one.
not have one. But then the judge reads off a possible hairline arm fracture that's healing. Okay. Wait, now I'm hearing, why didn't I hear about this the past 5 days in the hospital? So he went from having a skull fracture that he doesn't really have, and now he has a hairline arm fracture. So I'm like, okay, so we can no longer go visit our son. We have to wait for CPS, the department, DCF, whatever, ChildNet is what they were called, to drive because it's out of county. So they have to drive from Palm Beach to Miami for us to visit our son, which nobody wanted to do. So it took like a week for us to be able to go visit our son. And then they finally had a little system going on where we had people to go babysit us. And when I was there, I started asking questions like to the doctor. And I had kind of gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? He's a rude guy. So it is what it is. So I'm like, listen, sir, they're telling us we cannot come to the hospital because our baby has a skull fracture. But you told me that there's no way a skull fracture. And he says, I'm not going to talk to you about that skull fracture one more time. I said, but what about his arm fracture? And he said, yeah, I don't know about that. My job is to keep your son alive.
You're like, but what you're not realizing is those two things right there is what's keeping me from being by my child's side.
Here.
Yeah. Like, so this is a big deal.
It's huge. So now that we're being babysat by some guy from the department, he tells me, and I, honestly, I think he really had my best interest at heart. He's the only one out of all of them. He was like, listen, don't ask any more questions. Okay. He goes, I'm telling you, while you're here and you're in front of me, you need to focus on the baby and only ask questions about him getting better and stuff. He goes, don't ask anything about the past. I think he knew it was getting me in trouble.
It was.
And he wanted me to just visit my kid. I really felt that from him. I could be totally wrong. But anyway, so I stopped asking questions. So I went home and I called the detective.
Yeah.
He wasn't in, so I called again. He wasn't in, so I called him at 4 o'clock in the morning and found out, he does a lot of night shift work. I called him. I got him on the phone. And I said, listen to me. I need to know when my son got this arm fracture. The detective says to me, the beautiful thing about my husband and I, we have a second cell phone and we love to record. Once we realized we needed to record, we did. And the detective said to me on the phone, he goes, he actually does not have the fracture. He goes, I'll send the notes over and make sure that they know. And I go, okay, thank you. But then the detective said, but just so you know, if he had gotten a fracture, it was on that same day he had the seizure and you took him to the hospital. What? Wait, so he doesn't have a fracture, but if he were to possibly have a fracture, the date and time it would have happened? I don't know. It sounds to me like, okay, you guys are just trying to write some stuff down and you want to make sure it's documented properly. And you think that I'm not that bright. Well, you're wrong. You're very wrong. So, yeah. So he doesn't have an arm fracture, but if he did, we know the date and time it would have taken place. Wonderful. So moving forward, really nothing got better at all. There was a lot of visits to the hospital. I really did not like being in that hospital. whether it was my ex-husband or the department there, the way that I was treated, like walking down the halls to go to the restroom, these people are like staring at me like it was really so bad. I mean, one time I started crying. A neurologist flew in from California to see my son, and she said he is never going to be off these machines for his entire life. And I started crying, and her response was, "Do you need psychiatric treatment or something? What's wrong with you?" I'm
Wow.
like, wait a minute. Am I like the only mom that cries when they hear their kid is going to be a vegetable? I am literally still not getting
Real
that.
quick, Stephanie, because we started late and we have 15 minutes left, I know that you have a lot more to talk about because I already know your story and I want kind of you to share it. So, would you be willing to come back next Wednesday and do a two-parter?
Yeah, that's
That
fine.
way you don't have to rush and hurry up and finish everything in 15 minutes.
That's
Because
fine.
I think you already started to talk about the way that your ex-husband eventually comes into the hospital and, supervises, but I don't think you mentioned that yet to the viewers. So I don't
Right.
want you to miss out on anything along the way. But so anybody watching, we will do a part two and we'll find out when we get closer to 6 where we want to kind of end or pause and then pick up next week. But yeah, okay, so continue. Sorry.
So where was okay, so basically, it was just horribly uncomfortable. So
I
to
think you should talk about now about how your ex-husband came into the picture. I think that's a good
okay.
part.
Okay. So basically, as all of this began, and they said that we needed the babysitter, we instantly called my ex-husband. And um moving moving later on, my ex-husband actually ended up taking custody of our son. He was moved from the hospital to a medically capable foster home, which it was unacceptable. The foster mother was amazing, but my son being there was unacceptable to me. So we did some serious, serious fighting and got our son placed with my ex-husband, who would have been the person to adopt him if it came down to it.
Well,
But
go into more details about that because I know I wanted to know. So I'm sure the viewers do. This is a very positive scenario for everyone listening. So
okay, so basically what we did when he was in foster home is I had lost my public defender and I was in limbo, not really having an attorney. I kind of had a fill in at the moment. So I had my older son write a letter. And the letter was basically like, hey, my parents just got divorced not too long ago. And having this baby really brought our family together. Please bring him home to me. I took that letter and made a lot of copies of it, where I then went to the hot dog stands, the cigar bars, the regular bars, anything in arm's reach of the courthouse, walking around with these sealed letters saying, whoever is in here that's a judge, I need you to take this letter and like take it seriously because I'm not losing my kid. And I did that for 2 days and I did not stop. I mean, there was over 1,000 letters that we passed out. Long story short, before you know it, we get a new attorney and we get a change of placement hearing where my ex-husband was able to take the custody of our baby.
wait, real quick, I just want to emphasize for everyone listening. If you did not just hear what she said, the main one that I think she said when I heard her story the first time was she went to the cigar bar across the street from the courthouse because she definitely knew that a judge or two might be at this cigar bar. So when she was handing out these letters that her son had written, basically pleading for help, not only did this letter obviously get in contact to a judge at this courthouse, but then all of a sudden she got word that she was granted this hearing for change of placement, meaning she was then given what she wanted as far as a judge got the letter. The judge then gave her a hearing and gave her what she wanted. But still to this day, she really never knew who exactly it was that gave her this hearing. It might have been the judge that actually heard the hearing. You never know. But everybody out there kind of just goes to show you that unfortunately CPS, they're all entailed to each other. Like they're all on the same team, you might as well say. But in her instance, she kind of got to the heart of one of them, obviously, and saw what she was trying to ask for and plead for. And this judge must have felt sorry for her and gave her what she wanted. But at the end of the day, if she never did this, who knows where she would have been. But for everybody out there listening, again, public defenders, anybody, the children's attorney, don't ever get persuaded into thinking that they're on your side for some reason, or really like playing for you to get your kid back, because usually I would say 99% of the time that's not the case. So, okay. But anyways, so now the child gets placed with your ex.
So the child's with my ex-husband. My older son was there. And once the baby went there, my older son never left that house. He wasn't coming to visit me. He's staying with his little baby brother. So now the department, they come to my ex-husband's house, and then we get to meet them there, and we're doing these visits. And this is where we really start learning what is going on. And it is that we're getting expedited TPR'd. And I'm like, so, but how, like how? What do you mean by this TPR? Terminating our rights, expedited. And what that means by when they say expedited was that we didn't fail a case plan. They were not offering us a case plan. And the main reason that they were not offering us a case plan was that our premature baby had seizures, which then he ended up having a massive stroke from. And because we don't know the cause for the seizures, they need to terminate our rights. Now, they clearly said this to us. They said, we would give you a case plan, but we don't have one to give you. You already have stable housing. We already passed the drug screening. We already have income and employment. So there was no plan. Oh, and we passed the psych evaluations. So there was no plan to give us. So because we didn't fail any of those things, or we didn't fail a drug test, or like not have a home, there was no plan they could give us. So the only other option was to expedite TPR.
And also with the plan, though, let's say if you had failed all those things, that's all different services that they could have set up through the county, meaning their people, and made money off of you, meaning they can't make any money off of you. Therefore, we're going to get rid of you completely, immediately.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah. And so like there was one night in specific that we met our case manager, who I love dearly now, honestly. I love her. She was the worst. And she was honestly clueless, but she doesn't work for them anymore. She fights against them now because of our case.
We'd have to try and get her to come on this show maybe with us one day.
Oh, I'm sure she
contact
would.
info and have you be there as well, maybe to speak about the corruption. That would be a real good show.
Yeah. So she
okay, so we have about 8 minutes left. I think a good part where you could finish talking is I don't know if you want to go into this already, but and then end it, is where the whole lie detector test comes in. Are you ready to speak about that yet or no? And then we can kind of end it at.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, during this time that we're realizing we're getting nowhere and we're expedited TPR, we have no options. We have to start figuring out options. So we were literally on the couch watching Steve Wilkos. And I said to my husband, let's do it. Let's go. He drove right over there. And it just so happened that our SVU detective was in there, and so he didn't go there to take the lie detector test. He went there to be like, come on, like I need to talk to someone face to face. What is going on? And the detective said, would you take a lie detector test? And my husband says, absolutely. And he was like, you need to contact your attorney. You need to contact whoever. He was like, I don't need to contact anyone. He just let me know I'm going to take the test. Fine. So they let him know prior to the test, if you fail, you're not going home. And he's like, fine, no problem. He passed it. So they made him take it a second time. And he passed that one as well. So that lie detector test was really our saving grace of this TPR. Because as I had said, I didn't have an attorney, kind of. So one day I went to court and I had a substitute attorney, and I mentioned to her, like, they're just saying expedited TPR. They're not giving me any options. And this is like my kid, and I'm the one that makes the rules. And my husband passed the lie detector test. they're not letting me take a lie detector test because they're saying it's a waste of money because I'm not a suspect. So now what? And me telling her that he passed that lie detector test is what actually saved everything in our case, and it ended up getting us the director of the public defender's office to be my attorney. And that woman was going to stop at nothing until I got my kid back. And
also, everyone should know that it wasn't the director of the CPS office. It was the director of the public defender's office that saw what could possibly be going wrong here. So again, it wasn't somebody really saving her from CPS, even though it was a public defender's office. It was somebody still saving her that was kind of on the outside looking in, thinking, oh man, this mom is really about to get screwed. What do you mean a lie detector test? So again, even though she benefited from it, it still wasn't CPS that was trying to make up for the wrong that they were already knowingly doing. So again, but do you want to speak a little bit more about that before we kind of figure it out?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I could honestly really quickly say what they did for us.
Yeah,
so we ended up ultimately winning our case because we hired a medical expert, and we wouldn't have even had that option if we did not have a public defender. Having a public defender is what gave us the money to do it. So that's where it's like a catch-22. You instantly think,
well, the director, right?
The director, but
it opened that avenue up for you.
Yes. So now that's how I know, but that's how I need to make sure everybody else knows. Doesn't matter if you have a good public defender or not. If you're,
but also a key point too is that they kept that part all the way to the night before your court hearing to submit it as evidence.
Second.
So CPS didn't really know what she had going up against them with this expert until the night before. And then if you want to speak about that part, and then we can end it to part 2 about why you won, so to speak.
So basically, we uploaded in Discovery at the very, very, very last second that Discovery was allowed that we had a medical expert. And instantly, once they saw that we had a medical expert, there was a big mic drop, a lot of emails, a lot of texts, and a major game changer. Basically, they kind of just said, you know what? Forget it. We're done. And then we just got our kid back. So
crazy, everybody listening out there. As much as that seems so simple, they realized that she actually had something to fight with and prove the innocence, obviously. And so what? They contacted you at 4 a.m, right? The day of court?
4 o'clock in the morning.
And was basically, cases dropped, dismissed.
No case plan. I don't need to do classes, nothing. Just go and you can have your kid. We'll sign the papers on Monday.
And then say the reason why. Because if they would have went ahead with the trial and knew what you had, what would have happened if you technically won and they lost going through the trial?
We would have had a massive lawsuit.
Exactly.
Massive. Millions and millions and millions and millions.
Which I hope that you still follow through with maybe Mr. Davis and see if he would be an option. But I still think that you should try and do that. Although retaliation nowadays with CPS, we all know is horrific. But I mean, you guys should have never even went through that. Like most families should never go through what they go through when their children are removed wrongfully, but especially in a medical situation. And that's usually what happens. I've noticed lately, I think Darren, he used to co-host with me here. He does his own shows. He was speaking about it recently on one of his shows where lately they've been trying to take the umbilical cord straight from the hospital to do some kind of testing with it. But constitutionally wise.
Oh, wait, I just saw something about that. I don't know what the deal is either, but I just saw
they're trying to for instance, say that they're doing testing of the umbilical cord to give obviously false results and say that something was found, drugs, whatever. But really, it is against the Constitution and against your rights to have them do that without you giving consent as a parent. And of course, they're going around that somehow, some way. But again, it's everything that CPS does. If anybody is obviously familiar with their corruption
today, and I actually just learned it to be a fact that they cannot drug test you at home.
Oh, everything about drug testing, Mr. Davis. If you look in his videos and you search. His name is hard to say, and I have a retainer in, so I'm going to say it with a lisp. But his name is Okori Okorocho, I think. And he's a forensic Scientologist, all these different titles to his name. But basically, he spoke about all the differences in drug screens, number one, which is all what we go through as CPS parents. They're never truly a drug test, because if it was a drug test, it would have to be done like in a lab with all these different kinds of
that, right?
Testing, which they would never do or take the time or the money. So basically, everything that we get put through as parents, as far as, oh, go to this facility and drug test, those are never really true drug tests. They are drug screens. So really, drug screens are not even admissible in court. So really, all of these like drug problems, so to speak, that they lay on parents or accuse them of, in hindsight and in reality, if you had all the money in the world to hire these experts, for instance, like this forensic Scientologist, he speaks about it all the time, about how these parents are literally getting their kids removed and then they lose them, all because of the falsity
the most insane part of this entire case that I heard come out of anyone's mouth was about the drug screen, and it's when they said, man, if at least one of you guys could have failed your drug test, we could have given you a case plan.
Oh, that sounds so ass backwards.
And I'm like,
wow.
I said, but wait, my husband did fail it, but he made you retake. Can't we go off the first one?
Oh, that's so pathetic that it even has to be spoken about like that.
I know.
It's crazy. Okay, well, I know it's about that time, and Grace likes to end on time, but everybody listening, I want you to come back obviously next Wednesday, because she has a lot more to speak about. And just, even like today, how she's, her child has made such fantastic milestones, because I'm following her now. And it's just not only great to know that she did get her child back, but, again, I just wanted to speak about a lot more, and I hope you guys want to come back and listen. And then maybe your husband wants to come on and give his side of it too.
Oh, he loves the camera. He's always ready.
And you know what? Just the fun little things that he's shown on your guys' page is also
charismatic. He makes such a good time from anything.
Everyone out there, her husband, I watched some of their videos. Anybody can follow her too if you want to give her stuff out at the end. But
he's right back here.
Yeah, I saw that. That's cute. There's one video that I watched that was cracking up, because their son is autistic, right? That's medically right. Okay, yeah. So before or when he's at school, he'll take videos of like him playing with his son's like stuffed animals, like in a really funny way. And then they send it to the teacher at the school, and the teacher shows it to their son, and it really helps him out with, getting through the day and stuff. But you'd have to see it. It's just hilarious. Or like when he takes off in the bus, he's riding the scooter along the bus, like as he goes off, just those are the things that show, honestly, that not only are you guys not horrible parents, but they take these children actually from the parents that never need to have their children removed.
And it's crazy.
And they leave the ones that need to be removed.
Accusations on him. And I'm like, wait, I can't even do anything without him. Like, he makes the life fun. He really makes the teachers at my son's school. They're always like, Mom, we need to talk to Dad.
Yeah.
He
just connects better with your son, which is fantastic, because not a lot of, fathers are not only in the picture, but in the picture when CPS comes around, so.
Right.
Okay, well, we should probably end it there, but anybody watching, tune in next week, and then I'll be in contact with you, Stephanie. So thanks again for coming on.
All right.
Oh, anybody real quick, if you want to follow you or look up your stuff, you want to give out your name or how they can find you?
Yeah. So the best way is my TikTok, which is Team Caden 101.
And how do you spell Caden, right? Because we spell it different. My son's name Caden.
So Team TEAM. Yeah. Caden CADEN 101.
Okay, so everyone out there, if you want to go there. All right, great. So next week we'll see you at the same time, same place.
You got it.
All right, thanks, Stephanie. Have a good night. Bye. Thanks, Grace. You can end it.
A vivid picture is encrypted in your mind as the critics get in line like they're witnessing a crime. But then you notice there's a shiver in your spine from the feelings of discontentment and bitterness combined. Heartbroken when you listen to the judges, another kid's innocence corrupted. And if you go against, then it's destructive. Consider this predicament the toughest, but we believe in a system fit for justice. Child Protective Services only pretends to save it. The one solution for this is worthy of instant praises. 30 years of experience with relentless cases. Allow me to introduce them. This is Vincent Davis, defending you when they don't think a mother fits the role. Is it juvenile dependency or government control? Observe the pain in their eyes. It's time for us to realize we are the